when two schoolgirls in the small town of Bega in New South Wales, Australia, innocently left their campsite. They were unaware of the utter horror that awaited them, and the local community could never have anticipated the darkness that was about to unfold in their small town. What started as a simple decision to walk to a nearby party turned into a nightmarish ordeal that would forever change their lives and the lives of those around them. Welcome to Grim Riddles. Viewer discretion is advised. I was deeply saddened and disturbed by this case, as it felt truly tragic and utterly futile. It was disheartening to see that there were no discernible reasons or mitigating factors behind the actions of the killers. They appeared to possess an inherent disregard for human life, as if they were born with this dark inclination. As a mark of respect for the families involved, I have chosen not to provide explicit details about the harrowing experiences that the girls had to endure. However, I will include my sources below, which contain more comprehensive information for those who wish to delve deeper into the case. 14-year-old Lauren Barry and 16-year-old Nicole Collins were best friends and students at the Bega High School. They bonded over their shared love for horseback riding, bushwalking, and a passion for life. Nicole was described as a social butterfly who loved people. She was not shy at all. She was vivacious and had lots of energy, and she was always on the go. She had the ability to lift others up and to motivate them. She worked part-time as a checkout in Coles supermarket in Bega, where she was known as a hard-working and dedicated employee. She had aspirations of becoming an interior designer or a chiropractor. Her father Graham was a vet and her mother Delma a nurse in the local day surgery. Lauren was more low-key and soft-spoken. She was a homebody. She was described as calm, sweet, and lots of fun too. She wanted to work with small children or animals, and her father, Garrett Barry, was Bega Valley Shire County town planner, and her mother, Cheryl, was a stay-at-home mum. She was exceptionally close with her older brother, Nathan. He said, "My earliest memory of Lauren would be playing together on our property in the town of Orange as very young children. There was a pine forest, and along with the neighbourhood kids, we used to play hide and seek there. I would always grab my sister to help her out by finding a really good place. We were a great team," Nathan reflects. "We were so alike in features that everyone knew we were brother and sister. We shared a special bond, like twins. I was a little bossy with her at times or jealous, but that's just natural, I guess. Mostly I was very protective and always looked out for Lauren." They were able to form strong connections and friendships with a diverse group of individuals, both older and younger, within and outside of their school. Nathan fondly remembers the girls as being beautiful, kind and gentle souls, radiating a genuine love for life. Their families played a significant role in shaping their compassionate nature, teaching them the values of unconditional love, care and support, and extending not only to fellow humans, but to all living beings. During that time they shared countless moments of togetherness with their friends, where age was inconsequential. It was a tight-knit community that resembled a large interconnected family, often spending leisure time at the beach or embarking on adventures in the nearby bush. During the school Labour Day weekend and October holidays, a group of school children were taking part in a campout in Kalaru, south of the town. The camping trip that was meant to celebrate Lauren Barry's upcoming 15th birthday turned into a nightmare when she and her friend Nicole Collins mysteriously disappeared. The group had set up camp on October the 3rd, 1997, and enjoyed activities such as swimming, horseback riding, and relaxing around the campfire. Throughout the trip, the girls would occasionally return home to shower and change clothes, maintaining a sense of connection with their families. On the day of their disappearance, Lauren and Nicole left the campsite in the evening, stating that they were going to a party about 7 kilometers away. The girls were experienced in the bush and had ventured on horseback rides along the trails before. However, they never arrived at the party, raising concerns among their friends and family. The alarm was raised the following morning when Lauren's brother Nathan discovered that his sister Nicole had not returned. He hurried back home to check if they had stayed there overnight, but they were nowhere to be found. Worried, their families contacted the police, and a search party was organised with the assistance of sniffer dogs and SES volunteers. The community came together, distributing flyers and offering support in the search efforts. Initially, the authorities did not suspect foul play and entertained the possibility that the girls may have run away. However, their families vehemently dismissed this notion, knowing their daughters' personalities and strong family ties. Numerous reported sightings of the girls surfaced, leading to hopes that they were still alive. However, each lead ultimately proved to be a dead end. As the days went by without any solid leads, the search became more desperate. Then a local man named Alan Lane stumbled upon clothing items belonging to Lauren and Nicole while en route to a local tip. This discovery ignited fears that the girls had encountered foul play. Witnesses came forward, claiming to have seen the girls walking along the Snowy Mountains highway and interacting with someone in a cream-coloured sedan. The police began actively searching for the vehicle, believing it may hold vital information. The parents of Lauren and Nicole appeared on national television, making emotional pleas for information and expressing their deep concern.
Two sets of parents tortured by the disappearance of their teenage daughters.
The pain I'm going through and not knowing where she is unbelievable.
She's having fun and she just said, "See you tomorrow. 10:30 we're going to pick her up." She was.
They believe their daughters had been abducted and possibly met with harm. The families actively participated in the search efforts, with Nathan tirelessly scouring the bushland near the last known sighting of the girls. The shock of the girls' disappearance reverberated through the close-knit community, and Bega High School implemented measures to support grieving students and friends. Despite intensive investigations, the police struggled to unravel the mystery surrounding the girls' disappearance. Speculation arose that they may have been abducted after reaching the busy Snowy Mountain highway. The authorities appealed for information about a speeding car and screams heard on the night the girls vanished, hoping it would lead them to crucial evidence. Unfortunately, hopes of finding the girls alive dwindled with each passing day, and the families experienced profound sadness and a sense of defeat. Police in Yasser contacted the police investigating the disappearance, telling them to look at a violent pair of career criminals. They had been involved in sexual assaults and other violent crimes and may fit the criteria. These two guys were a seriously dangerous pair. Camilleri was the cunning one, relishing in his control over Beckett, who obeyed him unquestioningly like a lost puppy. Leslie Camilleri, born on May 31st, 1969, came from a family with 6 children in Liverpool, New South Wales. Interestingly, he didn't encounter his biological father until the age of 13. A psychiatric report prepared in 1993 mentioned that Camilleri had a challenging childhood characterized by deprivation. The report stated that he reacted to social exclusion by engaging in a pattern of theft and vandalism. Due to his poor impulse control, this behavior often escalated into explosive outbursts of destruction. During his early years, Camilleri proved to be uncontrollable and spent a significant portion of his childhood in juvenile detention. He even managed to escape the institution and live as a street child in King's Cross, Sydney, between the ages of 10 and 12. Eventually, the police apprehended him and brought him before the Children's Court, ordering him to return to the institution. He remained there until he turned 15. He was a dangerous psychopath and had racked up 146 charges since the age of 12. Lindsay Beckett, born on March 27, 1974, originally hailed from New Zealand and resided in the peaceful town of Opitiki in the Bay of Plenty region. But then he made his way to Australia. He has low intelligence and has multiple convictions for robberies and assault. When the brutal murders happened, Beckett was living in Yass and had become friends with Camilleri, who was 5 years older. After receiving this tip from Yasser, they did a background check on the two men. They found Camilleri faced charges and was in court for sexual assault of an 11-year-old, but the trial was aborted due to a technicality. Camilleri was then released on bail. They were also being investigated for the abduction and assault of 19-year-old Rosemary Gandarias, who was abducted in Canberra. She was held captive for over 12 hours, driven to a number of locations, and repeatedly sexually assaulted by 2 men in their 20s. Gandarias escaped when the vehicle stopped at a rest area on a highway near Bowral, and she asked her abductors if she could go to the toilet. Wearing only a t-shirt and shoes, she evaded the pair by hiding in bushland and later sought assistance from a nearby farmhouse. This crime would contain many similarities with the murder of the Bega Schoolgirls. While these checks were being done, police in Canberra had just arrested Beckett as he was fleeing in a stolen vehicle. Inside the vehicle, police discovered maps of the Bega area and some items of clothing with blood on them. Detectives Mark Winterflood and Stuart Green drove up to Canberra to interview Beckett. The following day, the police interviewed Leslie Camilleri, who was in jail for an unrelated crime. When the detectives questioned him about the TV, he refused to talk anymore. Back in his jail cell, it was reported that he was very distressed, crying and banging his head against the wall. The detectives interviewed Beckett a second time, saying they can connect him to the TV. Beckett went for a cigarette, then said to a guard, "They've got us," and then he started crying. He agreed to guide them to the crime scene at Fiddler's Green Creek, where the remains of the girls were tragically discovered. Camilleri, who was already in custody for breaching his bail conditions, was informed about Beckett's confession. During a further police interview, Camilleri continued to deny any involvement in the murders. He attempted to shift all blame onto Beckett, claiming that he was under the influence of drugs and in the state of sleep most of the time the girls were in the car. Camilleri stated that he only woke up to find Beckett covered in blood, insisting it was due to a cut on his finger. Both Camilleri and Beckett were charged with multiple counts of abduction, rape and murder. The legal process would unfold as they faced the consequences of their horrific actions. This is Beckett's version of events. Leslie Alfred Camilleri and Lindsay Beckett were cruising in Camilleri's partner's Ford Telstar. Camilleri was feeling down after an argument with his partner and had opened up to Beckett about his depression. They were casually sipping beer and indulging in crystal meth and heroin while aimlessly driving around. According to Beckett's account, they came across the girls strolling in single file along Bega Tathra Road in Evans Hill and decided to offer them a ride. It was around 10 p.m. when, after a brief conversation, the girls willingly hopped into the car. To create space for them, they moved a pink portable television acquired in exchange for a drug-related debt from the back seat and left it by the roadside. Interestingly, that television would later play a vital role as evidence connecting the two men to their heinous acts. They all made a detour to Tathra Beach before returning to the White Rock campsite. On the way back, Camilleri grew increasingly agitated by the car's bumps on the gravel road. His frustration turned to anger towards the girls, leading him to draw a knife and threaten them with harm if they dared to escape. Beckett joined in, brandishing his own knife, supporting Camilleri and intimidating the girls. The rear doors of the car were locked using child locks, and there were no window winders, leaving the girls trapped inside. Over a 12-hour period, the men subjected the girls to repeated sexual assaults while driving them to remote locations through rural New South Wales and Victoria. Camilleri expressed his desire to head to Sydney and made mention of bridges with significant drops, causing the girls to question their fate, fearing for their lives. Camilleri tried to reassure them, claiming they would only be tied up temporarily to facilitate the men's escape. The girls had been driven several hundred kilometres from Bega to Fiddler's Green Creek in Victoria. This is where they were stabbed to death by Beckett under the orders of Camilleri. After the brutal murders, Camilleri, who had been waiting in the car, asked Beckett, "Did you see the demon?" With Beckett taking the wheel, they swiftly departed the crime scene, heading back to New South Wales. Camilleri assumed the role of the driver while Beckett slept in the vehicle. Beckett woke up as they neared Canberra and made a stop at Theodore Lookout on the Monaro Highway. There they set fire to their blood-stained clothing, ropes and gags used to restrain the girls. Later on, as they crossed the Commonwealth Avenue Bridge, the pair disposed of their knives by tossing them into Lake Burley Griffin, before returning to their respective homes in Yass. On October the 8th, 1997, Camilleri and Beckett embarked on a trip to Sydney, where they stayed with Camilleri's brother for several days. During their time in Campbelltown, they meticulously cleaned their vehicle at a car wash for 6 hours, going to the extent of removing seats and carpets for a thorough scrub. They then returned to Canberra to eliminate additional evidence before journeying to Bega in search of the discarded portable television that Camilleri believed could potentially incriminate them. However, to their dismay, the television had already been picked up by a local council worker. The trial of Camilleri took place from February the 15th to April the 10th in 1999. A total of 70 witnesses were called to testify. Prosecution evidence included a shirt belonging to Barry that contained Camilleri's DNA profile. The shirt was found at the rubbish dump where the girls were initially taken. Police gathered evidence from each location where the girls were taken and assaulted. Beckett, Camilleri's co-accused, testified against him for 5 days. Camilleri persisted in his claims of being in a stupor during the time the girls were with them, attempting to shift the blame onto Beckett. the Supreme Court jury found Camilleri guilty and sentenced him to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole on April 27, 1999. The Supreme Court Judge Frank Vincent said, "Using the control which you clearly had over your weaker-willed but equally evil companion, you instructed him to perform acts that, in a somewhat perverse way, it could be said that you probably did not possess the courage to perform yourself. It is terrible to contemplate the prospect that, as a consequence of the order that, in my view, justice and a proper appreciation of sentencing principles would require in your case, you may never be released from prison. However, I consider that my duty is clear. Through your own actions, you have forfeited your right to ever walk among us again." Camilleri, who was 28 at the time of the crimes and 29 when sentenced, appealed his sentence in 2001, but the appeal was unsuccessful. He further appealed to the High Court in May 2002 with the same outcome. Camilleri has received death threats from other prisoners and is currently in protective custody. Lindsay Beckett. On June 26, 1998, Lindsay Beckett, who confessed to the murders, appeared in the Supreme Court of Victoria. He pleaded guilty to the murders of Lauren Barry and Nicole Collins. On August 20, 1998, Beckett was sentenced to life imprisonment with a non-parole period of 35 years. At the time, his non-parole period set a record as the longest ever given to a Victorian prisoner. When Beckett was sentenced to life in prison, Justice Vincent described him as having a pretty low IQ and being someone who had fallen under the influence of an older person with a much stronger personality. In 2010, Beckett was moved to a different prison after love letters from a former security guard were found in his cell. At the time of the murders, Beckett was only 23 years old. He won't be eligible for parole until he's 59 in 2033. After the sentencing, one of the victim's mothers shouted at Beckett as he was led out of the courtroom, expressing her hope that he would rot in hell. Nicole's father, Graham Collins, is the town vet. His wife, Delma, works at the local day surgery. Their grief is as acute now, perhaps more so, than it was when she disappeared. Collins attended every day of Beckett's trial, but felt no satisfaction when the man who tortured his daughter went to jail. Instead, there was a profound sense of loss. I looked at him and I thought, how pointless this is. You've taken our girls, you've ruined your own life, you've brought dishonor to your family, and you'll spend the rest of your life in jail. And what exactly was the point? It just struck me as so futile, he said. In 2012, Camilleri faced the Melbourne Magistrates Court via video link from Her Majesty's Prison Barwon, where he was accused of the murder of 13-year-old schoolgirl Prudence Prue Bird.
Well, a 20-year murder mystery is drawing closer to a close in Victoria after Bega schoolgirl killer Leslie Camilleri admitted he's also responsible for the death of a 13-year-old girl. The Supreme Court heard the triple killer disputes aspects of the police case, leaving some questions still unanswered about the murder of Prue Bird. Here's Emma O'Sullivan.
He's one of the country's most notorious child killers. Leslie Camilleri is already serving life with no parole for murdering 2 schoolgirls. Now he's admitted to a court he's killed before.
Police are intensively searching for her bush grave in Far East Gippsland.
13-year-old Prue Bird disappeared 20 years ago. Today, Camilleri pleaded guilty to her murder. Prue's mother, Jenny, was in court.
Must have been a relief for her to finally get a guilty.
Yes, that was good.
In the devastating aftermath of the Bega Schoolgirl murders, the lives of Lauren Barry and Nicole Collins were tragically cut short by the despicable actions of Leslie Camilleri and Lindsay Beckett. The vibrant personalities of these young girls were forever silenced, leaving their families and the community in profound grief. Lauren, a spirited and outgoing girl, was known for her considerate nature and would always keep her parents informed of her whereabouts, even if she was just down the road. Nicole, a compassionate and caring individual, shared a deep bond of friendship with Lauren, and their connection was evident in their support for one another. The shocking nature of this case reverberated through the legal system and the community, prompting a re-evaluation of existing laws and procedures. The Bega schoolgirl murders served as a catalyst for change, leading to the implementation of stricter measures aimed at preventing and addressing crimes against children and young individuals. These changes sought to strengthen the protection of vulnerable members of society and ensure that justice is served. After the Bega schoolgirl murders, there were a number of changes made to bail conditions in New South Wales. These changes included a requirement that all bail applications be accompanied by a risk assessment, a requirement that bail applications be subject to electronic monitoring, a ban on bail for people who have been convicted of violent offences, and a presumption against bail for people who have been charged with serious offences. These changes were made in an effort to prevent future tragedies like the Bega schoolgirl murders. They have been credited with helping to reduce the number of people who are granted bail in New South Wales. In addition to these changes, there have also been a number of other initiatives aimed at preventing violent crime. These include increased funding for law enforcement, increased public awareness of violence protection, and programs to help people who are at risk of committing violence. By continuing to work to prevent violence, we can honour the memory of Lauren Barry and Nicole Collins and help to ensure that no other families have to go through what theirs did. The murders really hit home, reminding us of just how vulnerable young people can be. It's a stark reminder of the need to stay vigilant and to protect our loved ones. But it also serves as a call to action for us as a community to come together and prevent these kinds of horrifying acts from happening again. Although the lives of Lauren Barry and Nicole Collins were unjustly taken, their memory will endure, forever cherished by their families, friends, and a community that stands united in their shared grief and determination to honour their legacies. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this case, please like, and if you like content like this, please consider subscribing. Stay safe, and we will see you the next time.